Marriage isn't easy, as I'm sure you already know. It can be tough, especially when you and your spouse are on a different page on so many issues. And when things are hard, we're all guilty of making mistakes from time to time. But despite what you see on TV shows and movies, there really is no such thing as the perfect couple. In fact, it's usually actually healthy to have the odd disagreement every now and then, because arguing with your spouse allows you both to let out some steam and air out the things that are bothersome in the marriage. But that being said, there are certain mistakes that once they're made, there's no undoing them. So no matter how many times you say, I'm sorry for these types of mistakes, it's not going to undo the damage that it's already done. As the old saying goes, it's easier to forgive than to forget, and unfortunately there are certain mistakes that can be deal breakers in a marriage. Sometimes it's just one big mistake, other times it can be a series of smaller ones. But if you and your spouse don't work towards rectifying your mistakes as you grow together, then your marriage is going to begin to suffer. So, of course, you might be wondering what some of the mistakes are that could end your marriage, so let's talk about them. Before we do, of course, let me introduce myself. I'm Brad Browning, and I'm a marriage coach and best-selling author of Mend the Marriage, a program designed to help you stop divorce and rebuild a happy, healthy marriage. So now that you know a bit about me, let's get into the kind of mistakes that can ruin your marriage. Now, it's important to note that the only way to avoid making the same mistake twice is to acknowledge that you made a mistake and understand why what you did was wrong. And then just never do it again. Many of us commit the same mistake over and over for reasons that only we know. But what we fail to see is that when we commit the same mistakes, we're hurting our spouses. So if you find yourself, committing the following mistakes that I'm about to cover, take a step back and consider how your actions are possibly setting a really negative tone in your marriage. Now, to get it out of the way, I'm going to start by acknowledging that cheating is clearly the big no-no of any marriage. Yes, I know it's an obvious one, but the mistakes that I'm about to talk about might be more overlooked than you thought. So let's get into it. Mistake number one is disrespect. See, it's common for couples to get on each other's nerves or bump heads, but it's key to never lose respect for one another, because once the insults begin, there really is no going back. So, don't throw the past in your spouse's face or take each other for granted. If you are in doubt about something, do not go through each other's personal belongings, looking for answers. Not only is that an invasion of privacy, but if your spouse finds out, they're going to have a hard time trusting you again. So instead, face your doubts and discuss your concerns with your spouse. Respect each other's space, each other's opinions and beliefs. Marriages that are based on a positive attitude where encouragement and respect are nurtured have always worked better. So as long as there's respect, differences are going to be accepted, and out of respect, our partners are not going to cheat on us, and out of respect, they're going to help us if we let them know what's going on. And second on the list is lying. So maybe you're thinking, I'm only saying a white lie. My spouse will never find out. But really, that statement is not necessarily true. There are circumstances in which you tell your spouse a white lie after you rationalize why it's acceptable and get away with it. Oftentimes, the truth will eventually come out, and when it does, your spouse is going to feel deceived and believe that you've lied about other things throughout the marriage. So you kind of just create, a space for doubt, a powerful emotion that can cause your partner to have second thoughts about your marriage. So how do you avoid this? Practice honesty in your marriage, even if it means telling your partner something that they might not want to hear. Now, doing this is not only going to improve your marriage, but it will also mean that your partner will be, in turn, more open and honest with you. And on to mistake number 3, which is being too controlling. Now, this is definitely one of the biggest mistakes in a marriage, and one that's often overlooked. And that's when one partner desperately tries to control the other. So let's take a look at the bigger picture here. In life, we're given opportunities, and every now and then we come across a once-in-a-lifetime chance to better ourselves. So this may mean you might be able to not be able to see your other half for a short period of time, or it might mean that your relationship isn't number one on your priority list for a little while. But if your spouse can't see the importance of these opportunities, then this is definitely not a good sign. Because in a healthy relationship, you should encourage each other to be the best that you can be and strive towards both of your dreams, no matter the sacrifice. So most times, the main trait of a controlling partner is the need to try and change who you are. Now, before you start thinking, but Brad, I'm only trying to help them, let me just explain. It is perfectly fine to encourage your partner to better themselves by suggesting they get more active or cut down on the Pepsi. But it's another thing to demand that they dress in a certain way or try to change their beliefs or values. You married your spouse for a reason, so let them be who they are and do what they like. In return, your spouse and your marriage are going to be much happier. So mistake number 4, rejecting your differences. We all know, a couple that's all smiles and agreements. They're the ones that go everywhere together, like the same foods, take the same cooking classes, and even watch the same TV shows. They're as happy as the 1950s TV family. Why wasn't I that lucky, you might be thinking to yourself. But do take a step back, because things are not always as they appear to be. In a marriage, it's a mistake to expect your partner to like the same things as you do every minute of every day. So, what if they have a different opinion than you? Who cares? It's a good thing. Don't push your spouse away or criticize their opinions just because they're different from yours. Words hurt and they're tough to forget. So it's totally normal to have different interests and opinions than your spouse, and if anything, it keeps things exciting. To avoid conflict, it's important to accept and embrace your spouse's differences. Not only does it make for a healthy relationship, but it also allows you to be you. So just because you have, different interests or opinions doesn't mean you're not compatible, and it is okay to change your mind on things. Mistake number 5, cutting out friends. So we've all seen it happen before where one of our friends, disappears from the scene. They stop turning up to events, their behavior changes, and you realize they're not the same person they once were. Now, some people laugh about it and say it's a case of being whipped, but this kind of behavior in married couples is really a lot more serious and common than many of us want to believe. See, here's the thing. Just because you're married doesn't change the fact that we are social beings. Not to say that your spouse could be hitting the same bars every weekend, but now and then a night out with the old-time buddies should not be interpreted as a sign of boredom or a reason for jealousy. Sure, their banter might include small complaints about married life, but that's healthy. Just, think of it as a free and friendly therapy session. Your spouse's friends are an outlet for them to express their feelings and share their stories. And believe it or not, taking away these things from your spouse will only secretly eat away at them, and in the long run, it's going to hinder your marriage. Besides, do you really want to have to listen to your other half ramble on about football or dissect the latest Taylor Swift album? And mistake number 6 is not getting help when you need it. Now, there's nothing wrong with considering marriage counseling. In fact, even when your marriage is doing well, going to see a counselor can improve things even further. No relationship is perfect, and identifying areas of easy improvement will only strengthen the foundation of your marriage. Of course, you don't just have to get marriage counseling because it can be a bit pricey. Instead, if you do need a marriage coach in your corner, consider signing up for my email marriage coaching service and ensure that your marriage stays strong and happy. For more information on how you can register, just go to marriageguy.com/coaching. All right, and last but certainly not least on the list is expectations and responsibilities. So as a married couple, don't assume that one spouse is responsible for everything. Both partners should share responsibilities. In some instances, one spouse, maybe handles a little more than the other, but it's up to the couple's discretion. Nevertheless, expecting one spouse to do it all is totally unreasonable. If that is the case, why be married? You're a team, right? All right, guys, if you have any questions about these common marriage mistakes or you want more advice on how to avoid conflict in your marriage, please watch the free full-length video presentation on my website, marital.com. That's marital.com, and I will put that URL in the description below as well. And that is it for now. I hope that you guys learned something new and you're feeling a little more confident and ready to work on mending mistakes in your marriage. As always, I totally appreciate those of you that take the time to like this video and leave your comments in the section below. And if you do have a question, just post it down there and I will do my best to get back to you. That's it for this one. See you next time.